clients consistently so you can grow your business and your income to live a great lifestyle. This is Dave Finale and the RE Skill Builder Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Dave Finale here for Real Estate Talk TGIF. This is episode 117. That's 117. We've been doing this for a couple of years and then some, and just having such great people on. And today I'm so fortunate to have John Kitchens on, the great John Kitchens. I mean, this guy is, and I quote, the most sought after systems and processes coach out there in the country. But John, before we get started, I got to ask you a question. It's called Real Estate Talk TGIF. Do you know what TGIF stands for?
Yeah, thank God it's finale. I mean, that's the, that's it, man. That's it. I appreciate the opportunity to come hang out with you today and chat with you for a bit.
Awesome, man. So, let's get right in. I want to know a little bit about you and what drives you. So I like this to be a conversation. Anything goes here, man. And what I like is really to find out, how you started, where you started, and what was the trigger or what was the switch that made you, really excel to where you are, or was it a consistent thing? So hit it, man. And let's rock with that.
Yeah, man. For me, it was, man, growing up in a coach's home, right? My dad, ultimately, I don't know if it was always this way, but definitely became, he's my hero. And so, growing up in a coach's home, him coaching, all high school sports, right? Teachers in Oklahoma, they don't make any money at all. So you've got to take on every little side project and gig you can just enough to get by. And so, with that meant, if I wanted to hang out with Pops, man, I got to get in the truck and I got to go with them. And it didn't matter if it was hanging out, in the football locker room or, on the basketball court or out on the golf course or whatever it was. For me, it really was, kind of that DNA. I was the kid, that ran out on the football field and grabbed the tee and, the water boy and also the kid that got locked in the locker by the players. But I think one of the things though, Dave, that it really taught me was, just that coaching DNA was just kind of instilled, right? When you're around it, when you're around coaches, when they're always talking, they're talking, the players, they're talking game plans, the strategy, the hard work, everything that has to go into to be really good, to be great. And, we're here in Texas and, football is everything here in Texas.
Absolutely.
It's pretty much the same way in Oklahoma as well. So, man, I think that was really it. Growing up in that environment really instilled, the discipline and the consistency. If you want to achieve anything in your life, if you want to be great, it takes hard work. It takes plan. It takes, surrounding yourself with great people, understanding that you're not going to do it alone. And, it's about the team. And, clear on the one mission that it is, that we're trying to achieve. And, high school sports, trying to win the championship, or in business to achieve, certain milestones or whatever the case may be.
Does complacency ever come in? Does hesitation ever come in? Is there ever a hiccup? Is there ever like something that says, holy shit, man, I got to change. I don't know what to do, or maybe I need to research or something. Where do those hiccups come in and how have you handled those?
Man, for me, my experience has always been, and here's the most recent. And I was gonna ask you about this. I see you running all the time, and man, some good splits not too long ago. Just every mile got better. That's awesome. So I started running when I was 38, right? So I'm 43 now, and I had a big milestone coming up, 40 milestone, but more so it was the, I lost my mom when she was 39. She passed away like a month before she turned 40. And so, really having to see, as I mentioned, my dad's my hero, but seeing my dad go through that, losing his best friend, and then, getting remarried and having to do it again and losing, my stepmom, both of them lost to cancer. But just imagining, having to go through that once, but having to do that twice. And, you know, he is the definition of stoic. And, you know, I don't know one person that can say one ill word about him. And it's amazing. And so, you know, having that experience. So it was coming up on 40 and I wanted to do something, you know, epic. Right. And so not being a runner, I was sitting down and I was chatting with Holly and I was like, you know, I think I want to run the New York City Marathon. And she's like, let's do it. I was like, all right. How do I get in? Right. You can't just like, you know, unless you live in New York, you know, you can't just like pay the money and get in. That just doesn't work. You gotta have the times to even qualify. And so I started researching and ended up stumbling upon Fred's team, right? You know, for cancer research for the hospital there. And I was like, man, this just makes sense. And so we started a cool little thing, you know, Lace Up for Pops. And it was my 40th. So my dad was turning 70 and we surprised him. We did a big surprise 70th birthday party for him. And ended up took him to New York City, you know, ran the New York City Marathon, and it was epic. It really was an incredible experience. And so coming out of that event, what's next? And I remember seeing at the last Content and Commerce that Traffic and Conversion put on out in LA, the keynote speaker was Jesse Itzler. And that's a guy you need to get on your show. You know, we talk about, you know, getting everybody on, but Jesse is amazing. And if you guys don't know, he was the one that did the book Living with the Seal, which was David Goggins. He's married to Sarah Blakely, you know, of Spanx, and he's just an incredible human being. And he said on stage, he said that one of the worst things that he ever experienced was not setting that next big milestone. Right? What is that next big thing? And so for me, I was like, holy smokes, man, what is that next big thing? And I was like you were asking, getting really complacent, right? Getting really complacent, getting, you know, bad habits starting to creep in. And I was just like, you know, it was February and it was 2018 of February. And Michael Reese, you know, him and I have a lot of history and we go way back, and he has a way of just instigating you. And so I get a text message from him one morning, and it's a link to Ironman Florida, and which was going to be the 10th anniversary of Ironman in Florida. And so I was like, what does this even mean? Right? What is it? What is an Ironman? What is that? You know, I've seen it on TV, kind of know. And so I was like, man, okay, let me research this. Let me think about this. And so, you know, understanding the swim, you know, it's like 2.4 in the water. Like, okay, all right, maybe I can get my head around that. 112 on the bike. Well, okay. I haven't ridden a bike since I was, you know, in junior high, and in a marathon. I was like, well, I can get my head around that, right? Because I've done that before, so I know what that is. And then did the research and got into the training, and then committed. And so I had that big milestone to work towards. And so obviously Hurricane Michael came through, destroyed Panama City Beach. So they moved Ironman. So the first Ironman that I was able to complete was in Texas. It was Ironman Texas. So in 2019, and then we ended up going back and we did Florida the next that in November. And so I think the complacency, you know, creeps in when you don't have something you're working towards. And so for me, that's what it was. It was the complacency, not having that big milestone, not having that big goal, not having that thing that getting up every day to get after and chase.
Yeah. So I see that and I understand that. But I see so many agents, you know, you talk about the why, right? And with Simon Sinek's great book, Start With Why. And everybody talks about what's your why? What's your why? What's your reason for doing this? Why agents say, well, I love seeing the face on people when they buy their home, or I want to help people. And you hear that a lot, or I want to make a difference and all that stuff. But obviously to me, with we can say 80-20, we can say 90-10, whatever we believe it is. I believe it's like 90-10, 93-7. But anyway, that's my opinion. Anyway, but when we look at that, and I mean, I've talked to a lot of people and asked them the same question. What is it? I mean, you know, Greg Harrelson will say that the agent's not prepared and not comfortable making the phone call. Others will say that their why isn't big enough. Michael Hellickson, I believe, said that the why isn't big enough. I kind of believe that, but how do you stick to the why? I mean, it is all about commitment. I get that, you know, You're a friend of mine, John Cheplack. I mean, we talk about commitment. That's a big thing with John, and I learned a lot about that from him, because a goal is just a dream. A commitment is something you can use. You measure by results.
Yep.
So what is it inside someone that turns the switch to that commitment? I know that's a long question, but it's one thing that I ask everybody every week.
Yeah. What is it that lights that fire?
Yeah. I mean, what was it for you? It was the 40-year-old thing, or I mean,
Yeah,
for me, I ain't doing an Ironman. I'll tell you that right now.
It's staying uncomfortable for me, right? And not getting complacent and not falling into even deeper, we're all lazy, right? So it's just, that scares me more than anything, is getting too complacent and having to, constantly challenge and keep pushing. And it's like you said before you got on here, right? Environment is stronger than willpower. So, do you have the people around you that are pushing you and wanting, pushing to be better?
Right.
But I think that fire, Dave, really, really comes from, tapping into, we want to accomplish certain things. We want to do certain things, right. But it also comes back to, really understanding who are we trying to make proud. Right. And so it's a real powerful thing. And you can even flip to the other side of it. Who are you trying to prove wrong? Now, those are great. You got to, that's the sustained desire, right? To build something sustainable, you have to know what it is big that you're chasing, but also, if you can tap into the other side of things with who are you trying to make proud, or who are you trying to prove wrong? The prove wrong is good, but it's not that candle won't burn as long as who are you trying to make proud. And it always comes back to childhood, right? So even for me, even for me, it's my pops, right? I just want to continue to make him proud. And I know he is, but it's still that thing, right? And then it's also, the thought of, would my mom be proud, right? So it's those things like there, being able to tap into that helps with the sustainability. And so I not being afraid to embrace that, sometimes, the masculinity is like, that ain't for me, which is BS. And we know that. So it's embracing that, understanding that that's real power. And, when you're going through hard things, it's those little reminders, right? When I ran my first Ironman, so here's the truth. I did Ironman because I wanted my kids to be able to say my dad's an Ironman. That was the number one reason why I did it. And so hard training days, I remember, Ironman Texas, it's a 3-lap course on the run track. And I remember about halfway through the run, it was getting real hard. And I just, that mantra, and I just kept saying, I would picture my oldest son saying, my dad's an Ironman. I pictured my daughter saying, my dad's an Ironman. I pictured, my next son saying, my dad's an Ironman. And then the youngest saying, my dad's an Ironman. And that right there is so powerful, because the pain went away, right? I was just that visualization of how proud those kids were. And I think that's real power, to be able to understand and tap into that will really push you. Because, John Maxwell, everything in life is uphill, right? And the only way that we get uphill is with intent. And, we have to be intentional. We have to have, the things that's going to, push us through the hard times.
It's so important. I mean, you've talked about several different things, and I remember, one of the things that's really important, I believe, is that environment does always win. Environment always wins. Where you are, whether it's real estate company, whether it's family, whatever it is, whatever you were pushed. I mean, our habits are born. Our habits are born the day we're born. Our first habit is to stay alive, right?
Yeah.
And then we move forward from there. You mentioned some great people, but you sounded for a second there. You sounded just like David Goggins. You got through the pain. How about that? You've never been compared to David Goggins before.
No.
Right? So
that's a huge compliment.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, environment always wins, but you really hit upon something really that can help people. And that's what this broadcast has always been about, giving value to real estate agents and doing whatever we can. And that was, thank you for that, because that went deep. And I always want to go deep rather than wide. So, thank you for that, what you just said and how you said it, because it was really cool, right? Everybody can relate to that why. Everybody can relate to, I want my kids to think I'm an Iron Man. And for me, my driving force, when I sold my business, I didn't have a why. I didn't know what the hell to do. I didn't know how to drive myself, right? And honestly, it wasn't up until recently where I've been going through motions and doing really good, but I now got a why now. And you know what? Honestly, 2 weeks ago.
That's awesome. What triggered that? What where you had that awareness?
Actually, a conversation with my daughter. Something we were talking about. It had nothing to do with what the why is. I'm not going to share it. Honestly, I'm not going to share it. It's within me and nobody else knows anything about it. But it's my driving force now. And it really kicked in for me. So it was a conversation with her about her concerns about me. And my daughter, I have two daughters, 28, 30. One married, one isn't, and it's just like, they, like you talked about the Iron Man and everything. They don't want me to run anything more than a 5K, right? Because I'm 63 years old. They think I'm gonna roll over and die. They don't know the old man's been running most of his life.
You know how many 60, 70, 80-year-olds out there on the Ironman course that are passing me? A lot.
I do believe that. I mean, you know how many 25 and 30-year-olds that couldn't run half a mile? A lot. So, I get to that. So let's switch gears a little bit here and go into real estate. I mean, I started off talking about the most sought after systems and processes, coach. And you can start about how you were mostly in the operational side as you started in this business. Talk about that and what's important about those things, and we can get going from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, from a systems and processes, it's really just, putting the foundation and structure to where, you can build upon and make something more sustainable. When I got into real estate in 2004, I landed on, a highly productive, highly successful team already by standards. It would say, you could say, hey, they were already killing it.
Right.
And so, but the train was not securely on the track. It was just a house of cards. It was just a matter of time before it, could have just tumbled.
So how many sides were they doing at that time?
So when I came on board in 2004, we closed out. I came on in October of 2004. We closed out 340, and then started really honing in on documentation, clear, a method to our madness that wasn't just, straight up just outwork everybody.
Right.
Because that's what it was built on, right? It was built on outwork everybody. And, that's good for a certain amount of time, but that's, that has its limits. Right. So, and we went 430 the next year and 521 in a market, mind you, that one does about 3,000 total transactions, total units available each year. And we were number 2 in the market always.
Wait a minute, you're doing over 500 transactions, 500 sides, and they only do 3,000 in that market, and you're only 2?
We're number 2, right? That year we did 521 that year. I think they hit right at 700, which is our number 1 competitor. So they were always 150 or so ahead of us every year. And, it's a blessing, right? It forced us to not get complacent, right? You have that competition, right? A healthy competition. Right. Although I don't know how healthy it was for we were pretty. It was a heated competition, but it made us. It makes you better, right? When you have that you're working up against, and you've got to be better, or you're going to lose. And especially when you're in that DNA, and like I had mentioned, growing up in a coaching environment, you lose more than you win, but you don't like to lose. And so it really was, it was good. And, I don't think we would be where we're at today if it wasn't for that market, 120,000 average sales price. And, I's dotted, T's crossed, every penny counts. And so you really look at, what are all the things that we could do in this business to maximize maximize productivity that's going to drive profit. And, we're always mindful of that, right? Everything we're doing, are we being the most profitable with our time? Are we being the most profitable with our investment? Do we have the right tools? What's our conversion? So just really paying attention to all of the details really matter.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, and then when you hit 521, you made some changes, and then talk about the important part of you as 04 came by and in 06, 07, some things happened in 07, if somebody may recall around that time. What was the most important part for you all to move through that? Did you make changes? Did you go anywhere? What happened there?
Yeah. So Kinder and I had a great leadership lesson in 07. And we split ways for a little bit. And it's just until here recently, we haven't even really shared the story much. But it was a leadership lesson. By that time, Kinder was spending a lot of time in Dallas, really trying to kick off the brokerage or kick off the coaching organization. This Dave, this is really, really important get for everybody listening in, and kind of goes back to that why, right? The contribution impact. And so what's the vision of the organization? And, as cliche as it may sound, we hear it all the time, without the vision, the village will perish. And that is so true. And so we had kind of lost sight of the vision. And when you lose sight of the vision and you lose sight of your part in the organization, you tend to, open up and look for other opportunities. And so for me at the time, 07 was, it was interesting to say the least.
Right.
And we had split ways and started a brand new real estate company. And the thing that got us through starting out that new organization is that we leaned heavily on new construction. And so, I had my license. I got licensed. I came on in 04. I got licensed right at the beginning of 05. And I really hadn't sold. But I did in 07 and 08 and 09. Right. I went all in, which was a blessing because, being on the operational side, I took the agent at their word, right? They would just tell me some stuff. I'd be like, okay, well, I guess that's the way it is. And then I got in there and I started doing it. And I was like, heck no, these agents been lying to me. Siku got the beer game on strong too. So that's awesome. Yeah. And so we relied heavily on new construction. That was what got us through that market, which is, for most, like, new construction in that market. Like, yeah, that was about the only thing that was moving.
Right.
And I had just built a really great relationship with a pretty good sized builder out of Oklahoma City that moved down into the Lawton market. And, ultimately, I mean, he was fantastic. We worked with him prior, I worked with him and then worked with him even after Kinder and I got back together. And he was actually the reason that Kinder and I did get back together. And it was, that question, right? What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given? And it was by him. And he said, we were at one of the new construction properties one day. And he said, what the hell are you doing? I was like, what do you mean? He said, get your ass back over there with Kinder. He said, this is nonsense. And I was like, what? And we talked through it for a little bit. And I was like, all right. And finally, started having conversations with Kinder, and we got back together, and it was awesome. It was the best thing for both of us. And, for us to kind of part ways for a little bit was the best thing for us. It really taught us a lot of really valuable lessons that, propelled us to kind of where we're at today.
So, and you all started, you started in Oklahoma, right?
Mm.
And then you started work. I mean, you were friends with Michael Reese through a lot of time of growing up, more or less, right?
Yeah, junior high school days, man. We played junior high and high school golf together, and and actually coming out of high school, we were roommates, first roommates together, coming out of high school, going into college. And man, some good times.
I bet.
Times for sure.
I bet. So now you've got, over the last couple of years, things have changed a little bit for you. You've come into this different realm of real estate. And one of the things, everybody says that, there's this way and there's that way. And I love Dan Beer's video a few months ago reference to how transactions are the same everywhere. And that's how business is. Talk to me about the changes you guys made and you made over the last couple of years, and why and when, and how it's worked out for you, and what it's been able to do for you both professionally and personally.
Yeah. So we had always talked, Kinder and Michael and myself, that we always wanted to do something and do a brokerage. And in fact, we did, I can't even think of the gentleman's name, but we ended up doing a market analysis, a market study. And we were looking at maybe doing a brokerage up in Oklahoma City together. And we ran a bunch of the data, and it came back. And, Michael was here in Texas at the time, and he was actually in the Colony in Little Elm. And this is before Frisco exploded. Right. And so his feedback was, he told Michael to move to Frisco. He said, hey, you need to move over to Frisco. Here's where it's going. They're building this tollway. Here's everything that they're going to do. So that the research and the data called that shot. And so Michael moved to Frisco, and his business exploded immediately. And the same data, the same guy told Jay and I to leave Lawton. He said Lawton's dead. He said, you guys got to get out of there. And so we this was all prior to 2007. And we ended up after we got back together and weighing the option, do we buy the Caldwell Banker franchise or do we go independent? And we ended up making the decision to go independent, and ultimately Michael left KW and went independent as well. And in 2014, Michael's head of operations chose to go do something else. And so it was like, hey, if we're going to do it, now is the time, right? Because at this point, the Lawton office was I don't want to say on cruise control, but it was kind of on cruise control. Right. And I was coaching more than I was doing anything. And so I was like, man, it just makes sense. Let's do it. So we came down, we put it together. We kicked off the brokerage here in Dallas in 14, 15. And then we got serious about it. And we ended up making the commitment to move out of the coaching office where we were, running the real estate team together. And we ended up going 9 miles down the tollway into Addison, which is just north of Dallas. And we set up shop in our mortgage lender's office there in Addison, and we launched Expert Advisor. And at that time, the vision was to partner with 2,000 agents across North America. Right. And we had 20. Dallas broke down into market territories. I think we broke it apart to where there were going to be like 24, 25 MSAs, market service areas within Dallas. We had built a call center at this time. I think we had about 10 ISAs, 10 callers, a couple administrative, transactional side of things. And a gentleman we were talking about, Alex Piak, who came in and was really, the driving force with Michael every day. And, my role, I was in that office with him every day. And you talk about, it was painful because with the commute, going 9 miles, but it takes an hour, right? Going down the tollway with traffic.
Sounds like you're in New Jersey.
Yeah, it was terrible. An hour there and an hour home. And so, Alex and I we'd have our hour conversation driving in, and really, it was awesome. It was really good. But my role at that time goes back to putting the systems, putting the structure, putting the accountability, putting the train on the tracks to be able to support. Because in 2016, we go from almost standing still to doing 262 units, like 2.2 million in revenue, and like start there, right? It was unbelievable. Like I haven't seen anything else, but you had a lot of horsepower in there that was really pushing it. I think at the time we had about 14 partners and about 7 or 8 other buyer's agents with them.
Wow.
And, you know, we're there, we're on this mission, 2,000 partners. We're testing, you know, an area partnership in Atlanta. Like we're trying to figure all of this stuff out. And Al Stasic, had the opportunity, been working with Al since I started coaching our masterminds in 2012. So just real quick on the coaching side, we kicked off, the guys had Kinder Reese and then became NAEA. Well, in 2011, they's like, man, we better figure something out for all of our top people. We got to have a great place for them to land. So they kicked off and they started Mastermind in 2012. And the very first mastermind was in Aspen. And you've got some behemoths in that room, right? You know, our DNA goes deep into the real estate space. Jeff Cook is in the room, Chris Waters is in the room. Lars Hedenborg is in the room. Jason Secor is in the room. I'm seeing a bunch of faces. It's just like, holy shit, right? There's some horsepower in this room. And, we wrap up the event and we're sitting there having breakfast and Kendra goes, hey man, we need a coach to coach these masterminds. You in? And I go, you going to pay me? And he started laughing. He goes, of course. And I was like, cool, I'm in, because you know what? I talk to every one of these guys, every one of these ladies and every one of these guys every week anyways. Cause our Lawton office we were really like the guinea pig, right? We were testing things, we were one of the first 100 on Tiger Leads. We were Boomtown before Boomtown was Boomtown. We were the very first ones on Commissions Inc. when it was the worst platform that you can even imagine. And so like we're jumping in, doing all of these things, testing, marketing, we started, Jay and I with Matt Wagner, we started Radio and Television Experts, out of that Lawton office. So like we've done a lot. And so these people were always picking our brains, and, Lars Hedenberg would fly, he flew in, spent a couple of days with us, just unpacking and, how he built his whole organization, ended up building his coaching company. So, I say all that to, on that coaching dynamic, that's where I just was really spending all of my time.
Right.
And then we get into, here we are in 16, getting ready to go, kind of into 17. And it's like, okay, we're, the Dallas office is now becoming kind of a test. And, we're testing this technology. We're testing, the data play. We're testing, the ISA call center stuff. And I was saying that on the coaching side, I've been working with Al Stasic since like 2013.
Right.
I was in our mastermind, started coaching Al. And Al woke up one morning to a couple of Christmas presents, right? And you've worked with Chep long enough. Christmas presents are that your top agents are leaving you.
Right.
And, it's the flaw in the team model, right? You don't have a place for your top talent to land because the model doesn't support you on high splits. And this on in a brokerage, you can't survive on those low margins.
No.
And so Al getting sucked back into production, which is one of the worst things, right? You're out of production and all of a sudden you're staring at the only solution is getting back into production. Well, at this time, Al gets a video from Cliff Freeman and just says, hey, Al, man, just take a look at this. Tell me what I'm missing. And so Al watches it. He watches it again. And then by about the second time he watches it, my phone's blowing up. And just that drive back out of the office, hour every day, talking to Al. And he goes, this solves all my problems. I don't know why I shouldn't do this. I'm like, I don't know why you shouldn't do it either. And so he finally gets Kinder trapped on the phone. And, Kinder's told the story where, he's at his son's birthday party and he's, for 3 or 4 hours, he's just pacing in the backyard while the birthday party's going on. He's on the phone with Al, and we could not poke holes in it. And so we looked, and we had a conversation. We got Brent Gove on the phone. We were talking with Gove, and he said, "Hey, listen, I want you guys to fly fly into Fort Lauderdale. I want you to come out here. I want you to see kind of what's going on. He goes, I'm going to set up a meeting one day. You guys are going to have breakfast with the president. You're going to have lunch with the founder and CEO. And then you're going to have cocktails with the man, the GOAT, responsible for all of this. So we're like, all right, cool. We flew in. We walk in that evening to the awards ceremony, and we're standing in the back of the room, and all of the names that they're calling up on stage, we knew every one of them. And that because they had either been to one of our events, or we had coached them, or they'd been in our mastermind. And we're like kind of looking around, and it was kind of one of those proud moments. It's like, wow, this is really cool. And so the next morning we had breakfast with Vicky. She was president at the time. And then we had lunch with Glenn and Jason. And I remember that lunch meeting, there's about 20 or so in the room. Kinder and I are sitting here directly across from Glenn and Jason. And I just remember listening to Glenn share the vision that he had for EXP. And it resonated at such a level. And this is why earlier, we kind of touched on why vision is so important.
Right.
And our vision was in such an alignment to what it is, the vision that he has for EXP. And I remember getting done and just looking at Kinder, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, we couldn't be more congruent. And what was cool too is Glenn's admiration for Kinder and NAEA and everything that we had been doing on the coaching side. I mean, he'd been paying attention, right? He had been watching, paying attention. And so there was a mutual respect.
Sure,
it was really, really cool to see. And I knew right then, after just sitting there listening to Glenn and Jason, I knew that I was like, this is the move. So we made the decision. We moved. We shut down everything. Like we unpacked everything. We moved the call center to its own like little business unit. So they were doing calling and stuff. We let all the agents, we gave them the option, to come to EXP or go do their own thing. We let the admins, we helped them go find other jobs. And we were off and running. So that was the big shift for us at that time. And it was the right shift, 2,000 partners by whatever 5-year run it was, or whatever that we were saying. Shit, within 2 years, we had over 2,000 partners.
That's amazing. We've seen this change, right? And you've been talking about it all through, and how it's grown, and we've seen people step up, right? I mean, you guys almost like threw everything away and started all over again, but it was all there to start. But you like took such a weight off your shoulders. I need to show something, and I'm going to bring in one of the people that is really inspirational to me and helps me in my business, who We're going to bring in another guest. But first, since we are sponsored, we're going to do something really quick. I'm going to come right back. So hold your thoughts, and we'll be right there. Hey, everybody, Dave Finale here. I just want to take a minute out and thank Absolute Home Mortgage Corp for being the sponsor for Real Estate Talk TGIF for the month of September. Matt and the guys at Absolute Home Mortgage, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. You're sponsoring episodes 116 through 119, Real Estate Talk TGIF. And we all know what TGIF stands for, right? Thank God it's Finale. Check out Absolute Home Mortgage Corp. They are licensed in the states of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Maryland, North Carolina, and Florida. Thanks so much, guys. Absolute Home Mortgage Corp. And we are back.
Holy smokes. Holy
Is that okay,
smokes.
say?
The MMLs, the men, the myth, the legends. What is up?
What's up, man? Beer game is looking good.
Hey, man, listen, man, the beer game is strong. This COVID thing has definitely put our beer games on like blast, man. You Ruben Garcia down in North Carolina? He's got a Santa Claus, but like he's got like the summer Santa Claus, not the winter Santa Claus.
Oh, that's awesome.
I got rid of mine, guys. I had it for a while. I was looking
Yeah, you were
really
rocking
old.
with us.
I know. I was looking really old. I said, nope, it's got to go. But the hair is still coming in, baby. The hair's still coming in. Wait for those ponytail days again.
Dude, yeah. I have been writing. I've got tons and tons and tons of notes from this day's session. And I always appreciate the fact that Dave allows me to come in and sort of bend the conversation in a different direction sometimes, man. And I got a perspective for you guys that I don't know that anyone ever really talks about with you. Right. So I am a product of hustle and hard work and all of the stuff that we coach about. And I have helped to train agents in probably about 5 or 6 different brands and different companies. I've created, in some cases, the top 20% of that company's agents and helped them to create revenue. And never once in 20 years of being in real estate has anyone ever asked me to partner with them. What EXP did in the conversations, those 1-hour conversations that you were having back and forth, and sort of the mindset of the agents that joined, those 2,000 partners in the beginning, the ISAs, all of the grit and the hard work that you guys put in the way that we have perpetuated the model, so to speak, is, and I don't think there's enough credit given to it. And I don't think anyone really pays attention to it. And to be honest with you, if we were in a better society, we wouldn't have to pay attention to it. But, or rather, and with this model, what it does is it effortlessly asks to partner with everyone. It's effortless. Mm-hmm. And so in most scenarios, when I'm in an office, when I'm in a model, I'm looking for what I can get in order to grow.
Right.
Even in scenarios where we're supposed to be, where the language is contribution and the sort of the language is, whoa, we're all in this together. It never really feels like that for all of us. I'm going to just say it like that.
Yeah.
Effortlessly at EXP. And I know this is not finale. I promised I wasn't going to do all of that EXP flag waving.
I brought it up, so.
But you said something that is pivotal for me. You said vision is so important, right? Yeah. And I'm going to put some glasses or maybe even some binoculars on this vision. The effortlessness of growth for the normally disenfranchised in business is unparalleled. Yeah. I got off of a conference call the other day where we are exploring how to grow the productivity of all agents in EXP through coaching and training from this grassroots perspective that you guys were talking about in those hour-long conversations back and forth to work. And then the last statement that I'm going to make is that I get to be around agents every single day. I get to be around agents who normally would have to make the decision between family and work, between, home and office, between this and that. And because of the platform, because of the effortlessness of the platform, they're not having to make those decisions. It's a very easy blend. And so normally what would be a part-time gig or a hobby type gig for somebody is now a legitimate profession, and they're not thinking like employees anymore. They're thinking like bosses. And so I really want to acknowledge that. And I don't think people say it enough, that it is definitely making an effect in ways that may not have ever even been thought of.
Well, I want to take that thought. I want everybody to know that this is not an EXP campfire discussion, and this is we're just talking about business. And John has been one of the biggest proponents of it, and one of the originals. Actually, you got to call almost all of us originals, but John more than anybody else, and that's why I brought it up. And I don't want people to think that this is a cheerleading session for one specific company.
I mean, I'm a cheerleader.
I did say earlier that first of all, every franchise, everyone they do great business, and transactions are all basically the same. What's going to work for you in your head? So with that being said, John, you can just hit with what Sekou's been saying all along.
Yeah, it's the the only thing that supersedes strategy is the model, right?
Yeah.
What's the model, and how can we what is it that's going to help us accomplish the goal? Whatever our goal is, and then whatever that model needs to look like, right? To where you can, and Sekou, you nailed it, man. It's the ownership mentality, right? It's and Dave, this, and having larger organizations, large teams, you're constantly thinking about your people and how can you add more value to your people. And you have real estate agents, you have good real estate agents, and it's just a matter of time probably that they're going to leave you. And so you're always thinking of more ways to add more value, more value. But when your model doesn't allow you to do that, then you're kind of stuck and you're kind of handcuffed and you can only do certain things.
Right.
And so where this aligns, from a model perspective, is that it changes behavior, right? Compensation drives behavior. And so when you have the right compensation model, it's gonna produce that type of behavior. And I say, if you really, really, truly care about your people, and you're not just looking at this as your business, then you have to explore this model. You have to, if you truly care about your people. And so, because it unlocks the additional value add that you can't, as a business owner, provide. You just, you do not have enough financial resources to give back to your team and to your people the way that this model allows you to plug in to give. And I think that's the big get, that it's still your business. It's still your model. You're just plugging into this platform and being able to add additional value to your people that you couldn't do otherwise. And to me, that's one of the number one things to take a look at. And it all comes back down to the model and the compensation.
But the same thing goes. Look, looking at it from my standpoint, a few years ago when I was a broker owner, I mean, if I had really done my homework better than I did it, I would have been here a long time ago. Because what it does is it takes all the pressure off you as a broker owner, and you've got your group, and you can be the same thing you were. It's just a little thing called Brokered by EXP. Yeah. Right. You still have the same organization you had. And it's just got a little bit different name, maybe a little different color, and it allows you to really go out and to really afford what you want to do for your people rather than worry about losing. And you know what?
You're in abundance.
Abundance, etc. And also allows you for a better environment. And what did I say earlier? Environment always wins.
Hey, John. So this is my experience, Dave and John. My experience is that I meet agents who are ambitious and who want to grow, right? I coach them. They constantly are searching for the combination lock to open their own company, right? Because they want to do it their way. They this is good, but is always the mindset. And up until 16 months ago, I couldn't think of anything that would counter that. Right. I would be like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. Why don't you just focus on your business and blah, 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 blah. But they're like, yeah, but, when I own the company, to be a little different. And that was their term. That was their idea of scaling. Even us. Right. So we did the same thing that you guys did. Like we were looking for value for the people in our organization. We had an organization that had like 40 or so people in it at the DeVoe Group. And we were at KW. And to their credit, we were introduced to expansion through KW,
sure,
which then opened up the mind to, well, here are the resources that are supposed to be available to us that we can seamlessly grow using the resources, and then everything would, like, we can just expand without having to expand brick and mortar. That was exactly the concept that was presented to us in expansion. And we would make jokes. We were the United Nations of real estate. We had people from every different state and every different this and every different phase of life. And unfortunately, and I'm not saying that this is the fault of any one person or any, but unfortunately, the idea was bigger than the application. All right. So it was a great idea, and the people hadn't evolved enough to be able to apply it the way that it was presented. So everybody kind of went into, well, this is my market center. These are my agents, and you're taking, and it wasn't, compensation, right? Breeds competency as far as I'm concerned. Everybody starts thinking, how can I help when everybody's getting compensated?
Yeah. We
get reintroduced to the EXP model. Reintroduced, because we've been introduced to it a few times. I mean, we're
sure.
Top 20% agents in the country, right? So somebody's going to bring it to us. When it gets reintroduced to us, we were at the table, I believe, with you and Kyle Whistle and Dan Beer and Tina, and the way that the conversations were happening was like a realization of the application we were talking about. We were introduced to. It was like, oh yeah, just get them on a call with me. We're like, no, we're talking about one of my new agents having trouble converting. Just get them on a call with me. I used to have that problem all the time. I'm like, but dude, you just did 200 transactions this year. It's a new guy. Yeah, get him on a call with me. Like that kind of reach back, everyone always talks about, but it's very, I have never seen it before. And now here I'm on the call with somebody's new agent in like Nebraska, helping them to get over call reluctance, or helping them to get over this, helping them to get over that. Yeah. I really appreciate the fact that the mindset is different. The mindset is actual. My kid, I got a 22-year-old kid who he's desirous to open a company, is desirous to open a business, right? And he's talking to me about it, and he's having a debate with his partner about whether or not they're going to open a storefront or whether they're going to be online. And I was like,
leave me answer.
You're talking to the right guy. And it's all because of this. It's all because of how we began to really apply the model and the mindset. So I just want to give that perspective, man. I'm sorry if I come on and I'm like, rah!
No, that's fine, man. I mean, I talked earlier about we were talking before we came on about all the great people that I've been able to have on, and what an access point for me doing this broadcast, and the value that I can bring because of John Kitchens and Dan Beer and Kyle Whistle, and I've had all these people on, and there's really not that big a deal. I mean, yeah, you get them on a phone. I will tell you that Michael Reese and Jay Kinder need a little push to come on and broadcast.
We'll get them on.
Right. But I'm trying to get Brent on too. But the thing is that the value of these high producers and what they're willing to do, and Dan Beer and that video I talked about earlier of talking about everybody can do the same transaction every company they're at, but the collaborative effect is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it is.
And let me let you talk to that, John. We've been talking, and you're the guest, so
Hey, I'm good. I'm just you guys. I'm right on point. Siku, you said something too. It's the combination, right? There is combinations, and it's definitely kind of a code, if you will, and always coaching through and talking through. You can start anywhere in that combination, but it is a combination, and if you're not getting the results you're after, it's because we're behaving a certain way, right? Our behavior is off. Our habits are off.
Right.
If our habits and our behavior is off, and so I'm just reverse engineering this combination here. And so if our behavior and our actions are off, it's because we're feeling a certain way, right? Our feelings are dictating how we're behaving. And if we're having disempowering feelings, it's because we have disempowering thoughts and disempowering beliefs. And right, all beliefs is just a collection of our thoughts. And so that thoughts lead to feelings, right? So disempowering thoughts lead to disempowering feelings, lead to piss poor behavior, which lead to bad results. But what really starts it all, and Dave has been saying this, is environment is stronger than willpower. Environment drives our beliefs. And so when you're in a bad environment, right? You're in a scarcity environment. You're in this environment, right? That people, and I love the Nipsey quote. I posted, I think on social media last week or whatever. It's about if the people in your circle don't inspire you, then you don't have a circle, you have a cage.
Yeah.
And so when you understand how powerful the environment is that creates the circumstance and how that dictates your beliefs and your thoughts and put you in an empowering position, you're going to have empowering thoughts that are going to drive massive action, superior habits that are going to give you superior results. And so when you have that code, right, when you have that combination and you understand wherever you're off in there, you know where you can go fix it. And I can't instill that enough into people to understand, because it'll unlock anything in your life if you understand that. It doesn't matter with your finances, with your fitness, with your family, with your relationships. It's a universal code, and if you just get that code, man, you can do some pretty cool stuff.
We start breaking things, and that's when it really gets fun, man.
What's really interesting is that quote I had taken from your post, and I put it. I save quotes like that for stuff, and sometimes to use them.
Yeah,
it was still open on my machine.
That's awesome,
dude. My kids saw that your post, John, last week, and it was like, oh, hold on, they quote Nipsey Hussle in your office and shit. I was like, yeah, they quote Nipsey Hussle in my office. You know, like this is the way things are supposed to be. We're supposed to work together. It's supposed to be one tribe.
Right.
It's supposed to be, North Carolina and Florida and California and Alaska. And we're supposed to be moving in the direction of progress and helping people to move and finding new homes. And, oh, shit, the country is locked down. And instead of panicking, let's see what we can do in order to make this thing better.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do in order to champion the virtual revolution instead of raging against what is inevitable. Let's show with our own model and our forethought on having the office in the cloud and having people, meet. Sean Chalice said something really, really powerful when we were on the other day, man. He says he took a whiteboard and he wrote down everything that they needed to do in order to close a deal. Then he erased all of the things that needed to be in person. And he only had like one or two places where he really needed to be in person. And that's where all the innovation can come in right now. Is those two little spaces. And all of us, not all of us, but most of us who are running this race. And like you said, the mindset, the feeling, the right, all of us that are in this great big maze of mindset, all we need to do is to shift just a little bit, and say, oh, wait, hold on a second. Really? No, it's really not a lot of spaces where we need to be there.
Right.
Then the whole concept of a cloud-based brokerage is, instead of being like novel or instead of being like weird and, oh, what do you do without a desk? I'm like, what do you do with your desk? Like, you eat lunch on your desk?
Yeah. I've got there's an agent that I've had the opportunity to work with the last couple of years. And, when she came, we started working with her, we shifted her whole focus, listing focus 100%. Her whole mindset is that even the buyer leads, she views them they have a listing. Like, she doesn't look at them as a buyer. She looks at them as a seller. That's just her mindset. She hit icon status twice in like a 14-month period. And so since COVID, she's OCD, right? She has not left her house. She has not been face to face with one client since all of this has been locked down. she's iconed and not seen a person. Not seen a person. She does everything like this, and she says, this is how we do it. Yep. And they're like, okay, right? And it's just that shift, right? Like, you are the true expert. You're the true advisor. You're not the order taker. You're not the Uber driver, right? You like, no, this is how we do it. This is the process. And when you have that, that certainty, and you have that conviction and articulate, hey, this is how we do it. This is why we do it. This is what we're going to do. People will do whatever. You don't need to do that. And it's just such a better way.
I've made a lot of enemies by calling agents order takers over the years. Just want you to know, I mean, that's what it was. That's what it became in 04 and 05. That's what it became. They became order takers. And after 07, 08, 09, 10, most of them forgot how not to be a freaking order taker. And now we're into this thing. Well, how do I get leads? And how are you getting 4 appointments a day? Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway,
we're going a little nuts over here, man. I tell you what, I get to work with Finale on a daily basis, and I have a great amount of appreciation for being able to bounce crazy ass ideas off of real estate royalty, right? So he's been doing it. He's had his head down, pig-headed determination, gonna succeed. I then get to pivot and in essence talk to you, talk to Dan, talk to Tina, talk to Tammy, talk to this one and that one, and everyone has varying degrees, just 1 or 2 degrees of what they feel is true north. And what I've noticed is that the whole the notion of you are the sum total of the 5 closest people to you, right? So what I didn't know is that you have to keep moving in order to stay congruent with those 5 closest people. If your 5 closest people are standing still, it doesn't matter how much money they made in the past or whatever they did in the past, you guys are standing still. Yeah. So this call and everyone like it, where nuggets are given and things like that, is us moving forward together. And I, for one, appreciate being in that circle. I have a goal. My goal is to make 10 millionaires a year for the rest of my life. And I want to be one of the greatest coaches in the world. I want to be known as one of the greatest coaches in the world. And the only way to do that is to coach the greatest agents in the world. Mm-hmm. And so in moving forward and putting that out there, all I keep meeting is great coaches. And so this format, right, TGIF became a format where I'm Dan Greenspan and Dave Greenspan and you and I mean we sat and had a conversation with what's the guy's name? Oh, Tom Ferry.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I've known these guys forever. This is the format, this virtual world. This is the format where I had a one-on-one with them. So I am the champion for the virtual office, the cloud-based business. I am a champion for growing your business in partnership with the greatest agents in the world. And so I'm going to be your cheerleader. I don't care what anybody says.
I want to thank you guys for everything you've done for this broadcast. And John, thank you for coming on. I mean,
it's an honor.
We've been going on and on and on. I mean, I wish we had another hour, but time is, people get bored at this stuff, and we're going to cut it up and put it out in pieces as time goes on. I want to thank Absolute Home Mortgage for being our sponsor today. And Sekou, I'm going to have you ask the last question.
You know what the question is, John.
I don't know if you've ever seen it. The question is the same every week, John. And Sekou, listen to me.
Psycho.
Yeah, exactly. Sekou, hit it, baby.
Legit. I want you to dig deep.
Legit.
How do we help you grow?
Man, keep doing what you guys are doing. It really is. It's that abundance mindset, keep pushing, because as you guys push, it pushes everybody else, right? That's that, if you're, the room you want to be in is the room that's growing together, right?
Yeah.
It's not, it's not the room that you want to be in where you're the dumbest, right? We've all heard that, right? You want to be the dumbest one in the room. You want to be in the room that's growing together. And so I love what you guys are doing. And keep doing it. And, the answer, my answer is always more. If it's working and it's adding value and it's coming from a place of contribution, the answer is do more. And so that would be what I would love to see from you guys.
It's like they say people always want to make changes and stuff, right? And they see something working and it's like, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Don't touch it. It ain't freaking broke. It's just like a boiler. My house was built in 1956. I got the original boiler, knock on wood. It still works great. So it's going to keep working, just like I am. Guys, I want to thank you. Oh, yeah, and John, there's one thing I almost forgot. I know this is the reason you came on.
That's really why he came on.
That's it, man. I want one of those.
I mean, you heard about this. I mean, Beer, Whistle, they got them, and everybody, even Tom Ferry and Cheplack got them. Here it is. I'm going to send it out to you. I know you want it.
I love it. I can't wait.
Hey, Dave and John, can I hijack 2 seconds of this broadcast?
Yes.
Today is 9/11, and everyone remembers it as a day of remembrance. Well, today is my daughter's birthday, and it was her birthday before it was known as the 9/11 holiday. So I want to give a big shout out to Imani. I love her. I love her. I love her. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
my baby. Yeah, they can see you. There you go.
I am remiss in not talking about 9/11. I did my video this morning was about the years and past and stuff, and we've got 9/11 and we had this pandemic thing, and it changes people. Both things have changed people. It changed me a lot back in 9/11/01. Changed a lot of things. Pandemic has changed me in other ways, and I'm not sure which ways yet. I will tell you that when it comes to real estate, I know that the last normal market, NORMAL, normal market we had was September 10th, 2001. Nothing has been normal since then, in my opinion, right? So what I look for and I strive for is a new normalcy every day. It's the push that you said, John. It's everything that we're doing, and I am so honored to work with you, Sekou, every day and have people and get to know John Kitchens and all the people I've had. I've been very, very fortunate. And thank you, John. Thank you, Sekou.
Brothers.
Thank you.
Hang on with me for a second as we go off. And we're going to rock and roll this and have a short conversation. Here we go. Thank you, everybody. Next week, James Lewis from Toronto, Canada.